Hang on, I'll just...
Okay.
Okay, so 2 years ago in September, Clive had two vaccinations for COVID, one 3 weeks apart, both 3 weeks apart, against my, protestations. He kind of had to do it for work, so...
I'd lost my job and I didn't want to do that at the time.
So for the next 2 months, all I heard was, oh, my God, I'm so tired. Oh, my God, I'm so tired. Oh, my God, I'm so tired. After a couple of weeks, I do live blood analysis as well. I looked at his blood, and we had before photographs from a few months prior. He had about a normal sort of 10 or 15% anemia in his cells. When I looked at them a couple of weeks after, 3 weeks, I think it was, after he had his shots, his second shot, he'd gone to like 60% of his blood cells were anemic. And not only that, they didn't look like little round circles like they should. They looked like blobs. And I was just gobsmacked because I'd never seen that before on blood.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of nights later, I was watching a doctor in America that I'd been following, trying to figure out what was going on. And he was presenting this independent lab who was looking at blood from long-haul COVID patients. And so at that stage, I'd kind of figured that the long-haul symptoms were very similar to the vaccination damage symptoms. And they were extracting blood cells and looking at the individual blood cells. And he drew on the screen what I saw in Clive's blood. And his explanation for that was that the skeletal structure, this fine skeletal structure that's in each of your blood cells, was being totally trashed by the vaccine, and they were losing their resilience. They're supposed to squish down and be able to pass through all your microcirculation. So immediately I've gone, microclotting, that's why everyone's having clotting problems. And, that was what I saw in Clive's blood. And so with all the blood cells being damaged, you have to have vitamin B12 in order to be able to regenerate your blood cell, make new blood cells. And Clive, basically, I started giving him B12. I was giving him a 5 milligram, very high dose, sublingual B12, and he took that every night for about 2 months. And he was still tired, went to the doctors, and she checked everything. And what came back was his B12 was about 198. Now, 400 is borderline low. So he was half of that, and he'd been on this sublingual tablet for a couple of months. So I thought, okay, well, he's either not getting the benefit of it or, like sublingual means it should go straight into the bloodstream. There must be a genetic problem or something going on, or something's happened from the vaccination, not just that he's used up so much B12. They gave him a shot in the surgery. Within 48 hours, his lights just switched back on, right? And so that was probably January 20... what year was it?
22.
22. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next nearly 2 years, he's had to progressively take more and more and more B12 shots. So it went from 8 weekly to 6 weekly to 4 weekly to every 2 weeks. So, and in all the blood tests we've had done in the meantime to check, we can't seem to have been able to get his blood for B12 up to anything other than about 400, maybe 450. So that's still borderline low. Ideally, it should be 600 to 1,000. So in late August, early September, we met with Ros and Randall and started patching. And we had a referral on hand to go and get Clive's B12 checked. So this is probably 6 months down the track since he'd had the last one. We'd sort of stopped getting them done regularly because it didn't look like it was going any higher than that. And I figured, well, he's got some sort of genetic issue going on there. Until I figured that out, we'll just keep injecting. And so on the 13th of September, around about 2 weeks after we met Ros and Randall, that weekend he injected with his shot. 2 weeks later, on the 13th, he was due to have his next shot, went and took his blood, had his blood tested, and then had his shot. And only a week ago, we got the results because we only went to the doctor then. 1,313 is the B12 reading. it's quadrupled.
Okay.
Now, two things have happened. Patching for 2 weeks only with
Wow.
X39, and Clive was made redundant on the 1st of August, so he hasn't been in a primary stress situation at work. But we've got to say that month was pretty stressful for us anyway, because it meant our whole lives were changing. We were worried about finance, so there was not the same degree of daily stress. And this is a guy who, on average, was doing 10 kilometres a day walking around Mogo Zoo as the site manager. So, I'm pretty sure it's the patches. And I'm scratching, this is what I do. So what's the mechanism here? And I've been just reading a book called Dirty Genes. And as a result of that, he was talking about if you've got a B12 genetic issue, there's a couple of them, and one of them is being able to transfer the B12 where it needs to go. And that is dependent on glutathione. And my light went on. Ding!
Yes.
That's how it's happened. The glutathione at X39 is boosted in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Quadrupled his B12.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Wow.
amazing?
Oh,
Yeah.